Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Our House 21 and it's time for video number 2 of my Boca ceramic bearing swap video series. So if you remember from the last video, I just dissected my nice new, new to me, but my nice Traxxas XO-1 here. And I'm going to be installing Boca ceramic orange heel bearings in here. The guys at Boca were nice enough to provide me a set for me to test for the channel. So I already benchmarked them, and you've probably already seen the bearing benchmarking video for this. And after I get done with the benchmarking, after I get done with the installation, I'm going to benchmark them again to see how they compare to the stock bearings. And I'm pretty optimistic that these are going to perform better than the stock bearings, just because this is going to be the third car that I've done for Boca bearings, or with Boca bearings upgraded, and each one has substantially outperformed the stock bearings. So I have no reason to believe that the same will be true for these bearings as well. But alright, and like I mentioned before, Boca has a nice kit, a well-organized kit for each of the cars that they sell. So everything's nice and labeled, and it's pretty straightforward. So let me just go ahead and start diving in. So here, like I said, I already broke the XO-1 into front, rear, and center assemblies. And turn these guys here so you can see in frame. There's front, and there is the rear. And like I said before, the XO-1 shares a lot with the Slash 4x4 platform. So this shouldn't be difficult for anybody who's familiar with the Slash. So far, the only tools that I really used are 2.5 and 2mm hex drivers. So I'm going to dive on in. I've got my other tools here on standby, which may or may not come in handy, but we'll see once I get in. All right, so for the center assembly here, I'm just going to go ahead and set this guy down flat, since it's pretty much a flat assembly. There's only a few bearings here that we have to worry about, and there's a number of bearings that support the center drive shaft here, and then there's one bearing that supports the Kush Drive. And I think I'm saying that right. That's right here. So in order to get access to all this, first thing I'm going to do is just pull off the chassis brace right here, and that's being supported by a 2mm driver, which I already have in my little driver here, which is awfully convenient. I don't need the extension, so let me just go ahead and make this a little bit more compact. All right. So I'm going to use this little mat here to help me keep track of these screws so I don't confuse them. Now you may notice I got this guy here. That's not stock. This is intended for a speed run application, so I built myself a custom cat pack, which goes in line here with the system. And of course I dropped a screw, but it's right here inaccessible, so that's not a big deal. So here, and I'll just point out, Traxxas makes 2 different versions of the battery hold downs. These are the expanded battery hold downs, which is intended to allow you to use a larger capacity battery pack. The thing is, I like to use hard case batteries, and I'm actually using SMC hard case batteries right now on this model, and they wouldn't fit. So I ended up having to actually fab up some little risers right here to give a little bit extra space so that my SMC hard case batteries will fit in here. It wasn't a hard mod, but it's something that you kind of have to figure out along the way. So this should come right off, but because I've got this guy kind of supporting here, it's kind of holding it in place. But here's the Kush Drive, you see, and this is interesting. Well, I guess that's okay. It's got a little bit of motion of play in here. So I'm wondering if this has been blown out. So so I think I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this kind of offline and just double check to make sure that it's in good nick. But just to make life easy, I have a spare. Thanks to the wonderful people at Dollar Hobby, I picked up one of these anticipating that I may need it. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop in this brand new Kush Drive here. And you see, yeah, it's got a little bit of play in here as well. But this one's cleaner and prettier. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap that guy in. Alright, so I'll just set these guys to the side. Alright. Okay, so drive shaft just slides right out. I'll slide out the back just for the heck of it. So you can see, just comes right on out like that. Traxxas. And you see there's been a little bit of wear here going through like that. So I'll just set this to the side. So actually, if I hold it here, you can see that you've got bearing up front, bearing here that hold this guy in place and sit inside of here. So it looks like, you know, there's a little bit of friction, a little bit of wear that was going on there. So we'll see what condition those bearings were in. So that drive shaft support is held up by 2 screws here on the bottom. Let's go ahead and pop those guys out. Need a little bit more torque. So things don't go crashing down. There we go. Set these guys here to the side. All right. So that assembly came right off of here. So we can see there's 2 bearings in here holding this in place. So the bearings are actually held in place by these little assembly clips here. So there's 2 screws holding that together. So go ahead and pop out those screws. Alright, just little guys. So I'm just going to use one of these little drivers here to kind of pull it out. Come on, you can do it. Or I can just push it out like this. You want to be careful doing this stuff because you don't want to get the bearings kind of sideways, pulling them out and then have them get jammed in place. That would be bad. So there we go, just pops right out. So other than being dirty, it doesn't seem to be in bad condition. So I've got a little brush here, I'm just going to brush it off. So yeah, so that looks much better. So looking at it, the condition of the bearing actually doesn't seem to be too bad. It just, because these cars are open chassis, they just attract a lot of crud. So sometimes things look worse than they are. Okay, so carefully push down the little retainers and this comes right out. So I'll set that right there. There's one. Now I have to do the same thing to the other side. And again, you can see that they've got these little screws holding down the bearing so it doesn't walk away on you. And again, just brushing it out. Probably should move my tools out of the way so I'm not just brushing all the crud onto my tools. Alrighty. So I'm going to do the same method here. Just use one of these guys to reach in and push this out. And like I said, be careful here because you don't want to force things in a way that you end up breaking stuff. Because it's a lot easier to just use a little care than it is to try to order replacement parts. So yeah, just kind of walk it out. And there it goes. All right. So again, just kind of clean it out a little bit. And it doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape at all. So just very carefully push these guys in. And this comes right out. Like so. Okay, there's the retainer. So now, let's find the matching bearings. So that's not it. That's not it. Here we go. Is that it? No, that is not it. Okay, hold on. It looks like that was it. Yep. Alrighty. So I could use a little chart over here and identify this guy. But I think this is a 12 by 18. And sure enough, 12 by 18. Alright. So I see the kit has 3 of these guys. So I think one of these guys actually goes to support the rear input bearing for the rear differential. So I'm just going to swap in 2 of them. Set the third one aside. And just to keep things straight, I'm just going to go ahead and pop these used ones right back in the same bag. It's pretty much impossible to really confuse them because they're different colors. Funny how that works, isn't it? All right, so, oops. All right, so installation is the same as taking it apart. So go ahead and pop this back into retainers. Again, being careful, these are plastic pieces and you don't want to snap anything by accident. They're pretty tough, but you know, just, it's a lot easier to take a little bit of care and make sure you don't screw something up. All right, so I'm just going to brush out the inside of these cups just to make sure that it's nice and clean. Mechanical items work much better when they're clean. It's funny how that works, isn't it? All right, so that's nice and clean. And this just drops right back in place, like that. Okay, same here. Right in place. Good job. Okay, and now I can go ahead and put these screws back in line. Now, I said this the last time, and I'm going to say it again. Be careful when you screw into plastic, because when you're using one of these drivers like this, it's very easy to over torque and strip out your holes. So I like to do a really low torque setting and then go back and adjust it manually just to make sure that I get a nice firm seat. So just by feel, but here, just, so yep. All right, and now put together my hand driver and just, yep, it's not bad. Just checking this one, feels good, and just checking it here, make sure it doesn't bind up. So that seems to be good. Let's go ahead and do the next one. snugging it in by hand. There we go. Making sure that it's not too tight. Okay, so this assembly is done now. So putting it back together, if you notice there's a little tab right here that is meant to support and protect the wire loom. And this is your ESC wire, your telemetry, and all that. So you don't want to screw this one up. So it's real simple. Just take the wires, just put them down through like that, and it's pretty much in place. So I'm actually going to assemble it from the top down. That just make it a little bit easier to locate everything. So line up the holes here, and put these two center back in. And the easy way to keep the screws straight on the XO-1, the button top screws go inside the chassis, the bevel screws like this right here go into the aluminum and on the bottom of the chassis. I mean, that kind of helps to keep things straight. But Traxxas did a pretty decent job when they put this thing together, and trying to keep common screws, or minimizing the number of different screws you have. So basically you're using a lot of the same screws, which just makes things a little bit easier, so that it makes it harder to get things confused. Okay. So again, get these two back here. I'm just going to brush this off a little bit. Discuss. And it's always a good idea, you know, when you have things apart like this, to just take a little bit and just do some light cleaning. Because sometimes you don't know when the next time you're going to be inside of your car like this. So it's not a bad idea to just take advantage of the moment and just do a real quick cleaning. There we go. And I'm, like I said, going to go back and secure all these by hand. Again, just to make sure that everything's tightened down properly. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That one was a little bit loose, not bad. Get that little leaf out of here. Yes, it is a fall. It has leaves everywhere. All right, so now I just need to put these two in the bottom. So you want to use a little bit of care just to make sure that these actually line up. So I'm actually going to start this one by hand. Once this one's in, the other one should just fall right in. And it feels like it's going in. I think it is going in. All right, cool. Perfect. Now let's do this guy. Okay, it's in the thread. And again, just checking these guys. All right, we're good there. All right. So now you just have to fish this guy back inside through here. So you just line up, and you can see through here, it just slides right through the middle of the drive shaft here. There we go. And gotta get it through this side. There we go. Okay. And all right, I think it's just about it. So, all right, so now, before I put this new guy on, let me see, they're still functionally identical. And I could just go ahead and just use this one again, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the new one for the time being. Now, this guy has a bearing in the front, obviously. Let's go ahead and clean this one off. And see, it just pops right off. Or I should say it should pop right off. Sometimes they need a little bit of persuasion. Okay, so for this, I'm actually going to use a flathead screwdriver. Okay, and for here you want to be very careful because you don't want to actually break anything. But just use a flathead screwdriver, you get it underneath here, and you just give it a very gentle twist to give it a little bit of pressure. You just kind of walk it around, and that's going to gently pop it off. Okay, don't try to use too much force and just pull it off in one big swoop, because that's a good way to damage your races. And what I mean by races, that's the parts in the inside of the bearing that hold the ball bearings together. You know, bearings aren't really made to take side loads. They're made to take loads from the top and on the bottom. They're not made to take loads pushing on the sideways direction. If you put too much stress on them on the side, you can actually push the bearings apart. And that's not good, especially if you want to reuse these or sell them or keep them on reserve. So this guy right here, looking at the little kit over here, what is this guy? This guy looks like it's a 10 by 15. Okay. So notice over here, got this big old mass of bearings. Yep, it's 10 by 15. Grab one of these guys. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to drop this back into the kit so I don't lose track of it. Okay. And this guy can go right on the front. Now, if you're concerned about them getting stuck, which this one seems to be a little bit stuck on, you can use just a touch of grease. Just going to use a tiny little bit. You just walk it around. Alright, so now this should go on a lot easier. Notice I use words like should. Oh, there it is. Pop right on. Alright, so nice and slick. And this goes right back in here. And if I would remember correctly, I wouldn't have put those on quite yet. Maybe loosen that up a little bit. Yep, sure do. Alright, so now I can, remember to grab the right one, put this guy up here, and actually I need to just go ahead and pop it off because this is still threaded in. There we go. guy right in there, and you just work it in. Perfect. And it's got perfect mesh because it had good mesh beforehand, so it just goes right back in place to the old one. All right, so screw this guy back down again. There we go. All right. All right, and again, checking everything by hand. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. All right, so center assembly is done. So that wasn't too bad at all, was it? All right, so next up, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the front. That should be interesting. The front's the most intricate part of this model, so that's actually the hardest assembly to do. So it's still not that bad, but it's just a little bit more disassembly involved. So, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy ready to go. Our House 21 signing off. Stay tuned for the next piece. I'll put a link so you can jump right to it at the end of this video. But as always, guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe. And don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media aspects out there. And as always, remember the mantra: fly, fix, fly, break it, fix it, and do it all over again. Our House 21 signing out. Peace.